Today. Welcome to the People's Church of Divine Prophecy. My name is Reverend Judy Weaver. I would like to welcome each of you for being here. Please stand and join me for the opening prayer and remain standing for our first song. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for the blessings of this day, for this incredible, thankful season. This time that we've had to be able to celebrate with friends and loved ones and strangers as we open our hearts and minds and souls to the thankfulness of life, the water, the land, the people, the food that we were blessed with, but most especially the love that we have the opportunity to share with each other and that is gifted to each of us each and every day. Welcome, God, to the People's Church of Divine Prophecy. Amen.
Hymn number 13, Kumbaya. Kumbaya, hymn number 13. Kumbaya, my Lord, Kumbaya. Kumbaya, my Lord, Kumbaya. Kumbaya, my Lord, Kumbaya. Oh Lord, Kumbaya. Come by here, my Lord, come by here. Come by here, my Lord, come by here. Come by here, my Lord, come by here. Oh Lord, come by here. Someone singing, Lord, Kumbaya. Someone singing, Lord, Kumbaya. Someone singing, Lord, Kumbaya. Oh Lord, Kumbaya. Someone's praying, Lord, Kumbaya. Someone's praying, Lord, Kumbaya. Someone's praying, Lord, Kumbaya. Oh Lord, Kumbaya.
Thank you, everyone. Please be seated. Now, our service is actually comprised of three different portions. We have the healing portion, we have the inspirational lecture, and then we are followed up with a demonstration of spiritual gifts. But we always start off with a message from the pastor. And so please welcome Steve. Come forward for the message from the pastor.
Let the assistant pastor assist.
Persistence. I hope everybody had a good Thanksgiving.
Yes.
I spent the day with brothers, sisters, son, granddaughter, and mom. So it was a nice day. It's only Thursday and Thanksgiving and Christmas are the only days my mom cooks anymore. She's in her 80s, late 80s, and has the clan together. And I guess a lot of what's been on my mind the last few weeks is something that is called gratitude. And the organization that helped me stop drinking back in my 30s used to teach that as one of their main things, that every day you had to stop and take account of what you were grateful for. Start the day thinking about what you're grateful for. Because the human mind itself tends to think in limitations. It tends to look at what it doesn't have rather than what it does have. So with that, you're moving your mind into a spiritual vibration to begin with. And when I look back over my life, I start getting down in the mouth a little bit. And every time that happens, somebody steps up in front of me and reminds me of things that I have, not telling me or trying, just by the example of their life, by something that they don't have that I do have. It's a pretty critical thing. I've been a little frustrated at times with this recovery, but I'm back in the gym and I'm getting my strength back, and I don't have any memory loss other than the accident itself. And this guy that was working on my truck, and this is like almost a double thing of spirit inspiration in my life. I parked my truck and the brake light stayed on it. I used a mechanic all the time myself when I was younger, but now you gotta lay on the floor, you gotta do all kinds of stuff that the old body doesn't like to do. And I did what I knew how to do, and then it got really involved. They had to take the brake pedal off and do all kinds of stupid stuff with it. And I just wasn't willing to do that. And I thought of this guy that's a mechanic over in Lake Helen, and he works on race cars. He rebuilds and remodels old bodies and puts brand new machines in them. So he's pretty sharp. I've known him a while. So I go over there, we're talking over there. He said, I heard you was in an accident. I said, yeah. And he told me about one of his accidents. He used to be on the tree trimming business, and he got crushed real bad one day. Head injuries, got cable broke, and he got hit in the head. He said, hell, I had headaches for 2 years after that head injury, and I haven't had the first headache yet. So it was a little blessing stepping up in front of me, reminded me, and just take your time. If he's 20 years old, it'd take you time to recover, let alone at my age of 65. So just take your time and keep doing what's in front of you. And then I started a chain reaction of thought all the way back. Just the inspiration to go see that guy was a gratitude because I knew the guy. And he worked, like I said, he works on these $50,000, $60,000 cars, and he's working on my old 2003 Nissan for me and charged me $20 when he was done. So it was really nice. But then I started thinking back over my life, and it just seems like at crucial points, now I've gotten everything it takes of a crucial nature to keep me living. I don't get everything I want. When the Gators lost last night, I didn't get that. But,
No.
you know, you do get the major things. And one of the major things that happened to me that came across my mind was I take an annual blood test just to check if I'm falling apart or staying together. About 5 years ago, I started coming up with an indication that I had hepatitis. And I've never been exposed to it. I've never been around it. Well, that's not true. Back in my teens, I was an IV drug user, so I was exposed to it, but I never had it. And then I had 2 shoulder operations, and my cardio got knocked down, so I guess it came back out then because my health was bad. And they were talking about, I don't know if you know what the treatment for it was until recently, but it's like having a cancer treatment. You get this stuff that they use for cancer treatment to knock it down into remission. And the doctor says, well, a doctor friend of mine's running a clinic on an experimental drug, and I might be able to get you in it. And it's just taking pills. It's not shots. It's not interferon. There's no cancer treatments of any kind. So I got into it, I did the treatment, and I had 3-year follow-ups where it was completely gone from my system. And now it's on the market, no side effects, but it's like $90,000 to take the treatment. And it's, you know, so I got into that just by being there at the right time at the right place. And when I look back over my life, the major events, Spirit's always been there for me. They've given me the things that I had to have, not the things I wanted to have. And that's where you have to just take time and give thanks for that. So it's been a season of Thanksgiving for me for a lot of things. And I'm moving into the retirement phase now in about another month, 2 months, December, January. And that's a little scary to me. I'm going from making quite a bit of money to hardly making any money and don't have a lot of money saved. But Spirit's always led me down that way. I've raised 3 kids to be an adult. I've bought and sold 3 houses during that time, and I've never had any money in the bank hardly. I've made good money, but it's always been spent on, taking care of life. And I'm sure that my retirement will be the same way. So I'm trusting Spirit, taking the steps needed to take. So I ask you to just think about these things. Start your day with thanksgiving. Start your day with gratitude, and build on what you have, not what you don't have. And that way your life will be a little more secure. Keep the dogs at bay most of the time, not all the time. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, everyone. Please be seated. The first portion of our church is our healing portion. And again, this is an opportunity for each of you to be able to receive God's love and light. We had our healing service on this previous Friday night. Very powerful. For anyone who hasn't had an opportunity to go, I truly, highly, highly recommend that you go. It just is such a separate type of a service that's just completely healing to all aspects of you. So today, Linda, would you be a healer? And I will also be a healer today. And so, Lorraine, would you mind ringing the bell? So we've got some chairs in the back for you to go ahead and sit in. If there's a chair open, go right ahead over there to begin with. But then whenever you hear the bell ring, that means that a chair has become available. So go ahead and work your way over to that space. And just be open and receptive. During this time, Ashkhen will go ahead and lead us in a guided meditation. And again, close your mind, close yourselves down, and be in that quiet space. Will be in a quiet space to accept the presence of God during this healing time.
Good morning.
Morning.
Please turn to the back of your hymnal so we can read the prayer for spiritual healing together. I ask the great unseen healing force to remove all obstructions from my mind and body and to restore me to perfect health. I ask this in all sincerity and honesty, and I will do my part. I ask this great unseen healing force to help both present and absent ones who are in need of help, and to restore them to perfect health. I put my trust in the love and power of God. Just get into a comfortable position to sit. Feet straight on the floor, palms up in your lap. Just sit comfortably when there is no tension on your physical body. Take in a few deep breaths. You may close your eyes. Inhale and exhale. And with your exhale, just release the tension if you are experiencing any discomfort, ache, or pain in your physical body. With your exhale, just breathe it out and let it go. Let go of the thoughts that are on your mind, anything that is occupying your mind. If you have any worries, any concerns. Again, when you breathe, release it, let it go. Go now. Bring your awareness to your breath. Just become fully aware of your breath. And engage with the rhythm of your breath. Just follow the motion of your breath, moving gently within you, throughout your entire body, cycling. Feel your body becoming relaxed and your mind quiet with each inhale and exhale. Feel all the thoughts dissipating. And you are connecting with that peaceful space within you that is still. Continue to breathe in and breathe out. sensations flowing along with your breath, relaxing, calming, deeper and deeper, and opening yourself to receive divine healing and guidance. In the presence of God, mighty I Am presence, I now call forth the divine healing energy to be here at this time and to provide each one of us with the healings that we need for our mind, body, and spirit. As we call upon the law of forgiveness, we forgive all those who have hurt us. We forgive those who have caused us pain and suffering. We forgive and we detach with love. We let go emotions of fear, anger, resentment. We let go of whatever is holding us back from achieving our highest potentials. We let go of situations, circumstances, friendships, relationships that are holding us back from achieving our highest potentials. We let them go. We let them go to the light of God that never fails. And we ask God, the omnipotent, omnipresent, omniscient, to be in charge of our lives, our existence, our soul and spirit, while we are here in this physical plane on earth and beyond. And with universal Christ light, we ask for protection. While you breathe, shift your awareness slowly higher, higher to your forehead, and up above your head. As you look up, envision a bright golden light way up above your head. See the energies from this golden light coming down to the crown of your head, entering through the crown, circulating in and around your head and your forehead, healing and clearing the mental body, as you release and let go of all the thoughts that are limiting your highest potentials, the thoughts that are interfering with your spiritual growth, the limitations. See all these dissolving in this divine healing energy and transmuting, activating your infinite creativity, your infinite potentials. Just follow this golden healing energy moving gently inside your head, healing the neurons, the cells in your brain, opening the communication between your right and left hemispheres, activating the divine knowledge and wisdom within your soul and spirit. Opening your telepathic communications, enhancing to where you are able to see the spiritual realms, to where you are able to communicate with the spiritual light beings. Just follow the energy that is moving gently down to your neck, to your throat, flowing down to your shoulders, extending to your arms and hands. Feel the energy rushing down to your chest, pure golden healing energy. See it moving, feel it moving gently inside your body, healing, clearing, cleansing. See the energy moving through all the cells, the tissues in your body, touching every single organ in your physical body, every single atom in your body, the molecules, the cells, the electrons, the protons are all being touched, healed, and balanced with this healing energy. Just follow the energy. It is moving gently to your lower body, touching and healing your emotional body. Release and let go of all the emotions of pain, hurt, and suffering. Release and let go the experiences that are connected to these emotions. As you release and let go, feel this divine energy healing your emotions and connecting you with your true emotions of joy, happiness, love, and acceptance. As you release and let go, you are able to forgive, and let go. By doing so, you are opening your heart to God's unconditional love and compassion. You are getting in touch with the Spirit of God, the healer of all, your sacred heart. And in this presence, you are finding the most joy and the comfort and healing. Feel your heart filled with God's love that is flowing from within you and around you. Opening your heart to love everyone unconditionally, including yourself. You are a child of God, and embrace your divinity. And in this presence, you find the greatest comfort of your soul and spirit. Feel the love of God embracing you, comforting you, healing you. See this beautiful healing energy flowing throughout your entire body, down to your knees, down to your feet, and see feel it going out through the soles of your feet and anchoring you to the earth. Breathe in and breathe out and feel this light expanding outside your physical body. Beautiful golden light filling your entire aura, stabilizing your electromagnetic field. Take a look at yourself, sitting inside this beautiful circle of golden light. Your body is at ease and your mind at peace. The more light you project, the more light you attract. The more light love you give, the more love you receive. Feel your bodies, physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual, are in balance and in harmony, and aligned completely with your higher self, to your I am presence, the presence of God. See yourself like a brilliant sun, vibrating and projecting golden rays. And know that you are the light of God that never fails. You are the love of God that never ends. Wherever you are, just be the light that you are. Be the love that you are. Embrace your divinity. Embrace the love of God within your heart and your mind. Let go and let God be. And so it is. Follow your breath, gently bringing you back. Back to the here and now, engaging with your physical senses and integrating all the light and love wherever you are. Feel your breath. Become aware of your feet, your hands, and just integrate these vibrations into the here and now. And when you're ready, gently open your eyes and be fully present. Thank you.
Thank you to our musicians. It's lovely to have such musical appreciation today. Thank you. Very, very nice. Well, now it's time to move into the second portion of our service, which is our inspirational lecture. Today is the last Sunday of the month, and so this is the Sunday where we get to hear from our pastor, Pastor Steve Adkins. So please come forward and join us. It's time to lead your flock.
Well, welcome back, everybody, to me. Glad to see everybody here today. My talk today is going to be Embrace the Spirit with Honor. I know we've all heard honoring our servicemen, which they deserve and have earned, but there's also honoring the greater power that's around us, with us, and guides us at all times if we listen. So I would ask you, how much do you think that the spirit world loves you and cares for you? Do we think about that very often? Most of the time, my mind is on the world around me, and Spirit's not usually seen in that unless we really look hard. Most of what I see when I look in the world around me and try to keep my mind connected to the higher influences is through the skill of co-development, which is what a spiritualist learns to do with life around them. You learn to see people around you. You learn to react with your own spirit within you, and you learn to react with the Spirit of God that guides all of that in a unison of a wonderful dance of harmony and life around you. I would ask that you think about the next three questions that I'm going to present. If you think of these several times a week, it definitely puts your mind on the Spirit. The first question you ask yourself is, do I feel I'm being led? And that means by a higher source. If the answer to that question is yes, then you ask yourself the next question, do I feel I'm being led well? And if the answer to that question is yes, then the final question, and this is the toughest one, what is my responsibility to the source of this inspiration and leading? Because not only are we guided and given that inspiration, we have to take the steps. We have to put it into action in the world around us. You can't just sit there and say, oh, that's what I'm supposed to do, and it magically happens to you. I remember, this morning I remembered a cartoon that I saw one time, and I don't advocate killing people or anything, so don't think I'm advocating that by what I'm saying, but there was this Arab sheik coming out of his tent with a sword, and there's a salesman sitting there with a machine gun, and this is the guy's going out to fight a big battle, and he says, I don't have time for new inventions or new thoughts right now, I gotta go fight a battle. And that's a lot how we do with Spirit. When they give us these thoughts and these hopes and these inspirations, we're too busy doing what our mind is directing us to do and what our habits are directing us to do to catch that thought, especially in times of duress or especially in times of being hurried. Spirit gives you the simple thoughts. And if your first thought is, oh, it can't be that simple, that's probably a thought from Spirit to help you with what you're doing. Because it's pretty straight, it's pretty clear. Truth is the same for all people, everywhere, all the time. And that's what Spirit speaks in and acts within is truth. It's up to us to see that, recognize that it's from the Spirit. Whether we act on it or not is our personal choice, our freedom of choice. But in order to keep realizing when it comes to you, you have to recognize it, acknowledge it, and give thanks for receiving it, whether you act on it or not. It's just like a friend giving you advice that you have no intention of taking. They're giving it to you in the best of intentions, and you want to honor them for that. Thank them for being there for you. Thank them for taking time to think of the situation you're in and for taking time to give hopeful guidance for that. Doesn't mean you're obligated to do it or to take it. Just honor the act that you received it and acknowledge the fact that you received it. Because a lot of that has to do with them knowing that they've gotten through to you. Because it's kind of like, I guess the best way to think about Spirit seeing us or us trying to see Spirit is getting into a pool of water, going underwater and opening your eyes. You're trying to see with senses that aren't really geared to see the medium you're looking at. And our physical senses aren't geared to see Spirit that well. And their spiritual senses aren't geared to see the physical that well. So they have to know that you've received the message. And acknowledging it and honoring that they took the time strengthens that connection and allows you to continue to receive it. The other thing about the spirit realm is they never get tired, they never get frustrated. They see the bigger picture. They see the eternal you. They see you as you're going to be in the Spirit, not just as you're going to see here, be here. That's why a lot of times when we cry out for help on the immediacy of things, it doesn't seem like they're responding either quick enough or at all, because they respond in the sense of eternity. They don't just reach down and monkey one little situation with you. They deal with you with the eternity of who you are and how you're going to be as a being going forward through that time space of eternity. Not just to make you stop hurting now or make you be happy now or whatever it is. It's your life's path, not the immediate physical path. So when you think about that, you're responsible a lot of time for the immediacy of things. We can't get upset about not being given guidance to avoid things that we put into action ourselves. Because we're the ones that create the action. We're the ones that start the ball rolling, so to speak. Hopefully we've taken time to think about that spirit guidance, to confer with our own spirit, not just the spiritual beings that are out there. But we have a tremendously powerful spiritual being that we are as an eternal being. And I said last week in my thought for the day, how many times do we ever think about that? The eternal being that we are. How often do we try to communicate with the spiritual being that's attached to this flesh? It's always reaching out, it's always outside of us, it's always these greater things than us. But we need to try to build that bond of communication, not just with the spirit world, but with our own spirit. Because that's where the guidance actually finally comes from. Spirit senses have to speak to spirit senses. So the outside spirits speak to your spirit, and then that spirit speaks to you with the guidance that's come to it. So you have to have that communication with your own spirit. Some people call it our consciousness. Some people call it our sense of conscience, or our sense of right and wrong. But we have to develop that flow, that need to speak to the Spirit. I guess a lot of our my impediment to spirit development is sometimes not being able to forgive and move on. Sometimes, and I'm not saying that I've had worse things happen to me than anybody else, but I've been in some pretty tough places, and it's taken me a lot of time to get by some of the things that were attempted to be done to me. And what's even worse, some of the things I had to do to stop what was attempting to be being done to me. Because if you have to act in a pretty severe fashion to stop somebody from doing something to you, it affects you. And I've never killed anybody, but I would imagine if you had to kill somebody in self-defense, it's going to affect you. It's going to have a severe effect on your psyche, on your sense of who you are, and how you put that into perspective. And to a greater or lesser degree, it doesn't matter if you're defending yourself physically or however you have to do it verbally, you are affected by the way that you move into that action to defend yourself. I think they said that it was Pythagoras that said, don't defend yourself too ardently when attacked. Defend yourself minimally, but don't step across the line into an emotional response to what's going on. Because you just give strength to those that are coming at you. And once it's all said and done, all over and finished, you have to do this act of forgiveness to yourself for how you acted and to others for how they acted. Now, I could probably lecture for 4 Sundays in a row on forgiveness, but I'm going to keep it simple. Forgiveness has a couple interesting aspects to it. when you forgive somebody, the level of that forgiveness, the effectiveness of that forgiveness has absolutely nothing to do with whether they accept it, like it, or don't like it. You have chosen to forgive that person because you know it's the thing to do. They don't have to say everything's cool, everything's fine, because they have the freedom of choice also in that. If you honestly, truly tell that person you forgive them, and the best I've been able to do is tell them I forgive them for everything to date, because I'm not going to excuse them for how they're going to act in the future. But I can tell them that I forgive them for everything that's gone on to date. So you need to remember that that person, when you say that to them, they're not required to be ready to forgive you back. And again, that has nothing to do with how effective the forgiveness is that you give to them. Keep it on your part. Don't bring theirs in. There's no but. The word but is not in forgiveness. When you're forgiving somebody, that word can't be in there. You take responsibility for what you do, and that's another spiritualist trait, is personal responsibility. You're responsible for everything you do, every time you do it, regardless of why you do it. There's no absolving you because you acted a certain way because of something else. The other interesting aspect of forgiveness is that you can't wait until you understand what happened. You have to forgive first, and understanding follows forgiveness. It does not precede it. Forgiveness is the spiritual virtue that's within you, urging you to be a spiritual person, telling you the truth of what's going on. And when you act that way, then understanding follows. It does not precede the act of forgiveness. Why that is, I don't know, but that's how it tends to work. That's probably because forgiveness is bringing the Spirit in, and it's the virtue, and understanding is the moving on past it once you've acted in a spiritual fashion. But again, like I said, there's just certain people in your life that are never going to stop tasking you. It doesn't have to be a family. It can be, but it doesn't have to be. But there's some people that every time you meet them, every time you interact with them, they're going to irk you. And it might be intentional, it might not be. So I forgive them to everything they've done to date when I talk to them, not the future. But this act frees you from the past. You don't forget it. You don't forget the past, but it frees you from being bound by the past. You're not being driven to actions every time you see that person because of what they've done once you do this. You're your own person again. You freed yourself from the past. You freed yourself from that person and their actions. I would imagine that the hardest thing about all of this, like I said, is moving on with Spirit inspiration. Spirit's teaching you and trying to teach you algebra by teaching you math of adding and subtracting, because that's about all we can conceive of in our physical mind. Our physical mind is three-dimensional. So it has to be put into a three-dimensional aspect down from the spiritual dimension, which is many more in dimensions than three-dimensional. I think the scientists have agreed that if there is spirit, it's fifth-dimensional, where you actually, instead of just seeing a flower, you feel the flower. The color of the flower imbibes your body. Whole aspect, the creative energy, everything about that flower is known by you when you're in spirit. We can get a dim shadow of it in this existence, which is pretty nice at times when you see a flower. It does make you relax, but it's not the same as seeing it and the spiritual aspect. There was a guy named Walter Lea, and he invented, his whole philosophy was built upon seeing the creative energy that it took to make an object exist. If he was looking at a piece of art, he would try to feel the creative energy that the artist had when he thought about creating that, or she thought about when creating that. And that's what the whole focus, he had a big institute for a long time, but as with most religious movements or spiritual movements, when the avatar or the clear thinker that started it dies, the rest of the people just become caretakers, and that moving forward stops a lot of the time. It stagnates and it stays the same, just repetitive talk about what was. But this guy was really interesting. He developed the art of carving eyes and sculpture to give them a different aspect of color. The deeper the eye, the darker the color it appeared, the deeper the carving of the eye socket, it gave it a different color. And he developed that technique. He wasn't really an artist. He just was guided by spiritual energy. When you run into these people like this, you see the inspiration of them. And it's not just limited to spiritual people. You look at, I was watching a thing on the Rolling Stones last night on TV, and you can see them all the way from the time that they started to the current day. And, you know, Mick Jagger's still out there dancing around the stage, carrying on, and acting like he's 20 years old. Keith Richards, another story.
Yes.
He kind of looks a little mummified, but he's barely moving, but he's still moving. And he even looked like that back then, believe it or not. But you see these people that move forward, they step out into where there's nothing and they create something. And they're being guided strictly by spirit for the creative energy at the moment. And we have that same potential within our lives. We might not be Mick Jagger someday, but we can certainly create harmony about where we're at. We can certainly move forward through difficult times when we have that spirit connection. If we truly believe that God and Spirit is with us at all times, even when the difficult times happen, if we try to think for a moment about that, honor the thought of Spirit, things will change. Your perception will change. The opportunities for you will change. What you put your mind on is what you're guided to. And that's your freedom of choice. So I just ask you, in closing, to think about those three questions. Do I feel I'm being led? Do I feel I'm being led well? Do I honor that which is leading me? And what is my responsibility to that source? That will trigger all kinds of interesting thoughts in your mind. When you think those three thoughts several times a week, put your mind on a spiritual path. But again, you have to honor yourself and your own spirit. Thank you for listening.